Fordham here, and today we're going to talk about box and whisker plots. You may have seen this before, but we're going to just start off with the basics and just explain everything again. There also might be some new verbiage that you haven't heard, so we got to definitely cover all that. Right away, we can figure that out by this word lower extreme. You may have actually heard of this more called the minimum, and it's just important to hear both phrases of that. And just like upper extreme, you probably have heard as the maximum. Some people use the words interchangeably, so it's important to hear both. Everything else you may have been exposed to. If not, we're going to go through. So usually you're given a set of data, a bunch of numbers, and what you have to do is make a box and whisker plot. Well, it's kind of hard to make one if you don't know exactly what you're doing. So I want to walk through an actual picture of one first, and then we're going to go ahead and make a couple on our own. So lower extreme. Extreme usually means big, awesome. Well, in this case, it'd be the lowest number possible. So this would be our lowest extreme. Now, if we're following our chart, it looks like it goes by, our number line goes by ones. We can see that the lower extreme is going to be 11. And everything just kind of goes in order after that. Well, if you have the lower extreme, then you've got the lower quartile. So this is like a fourth of the data is right in here. And so that number looks like it's going to be 13. The median would be right here. And this is halfway between all the data. It's basically like you just took all the numbers and just went chop right down the middle. Our median looks like it's 14. Our upper quartile would be the other side of this box here. So this would be our upper quartile, and that looks like it's holding at about 17. And then our upper extreme right over here would be 18. So this is just to give you an idea of what the picture would look like, so that way when we go ahead and make one, you have a better idea what's going on. Speaking of making one, here we go. So we have our first example data here. And if you can tell, the numbers are actually not in order. So what you want to do is, first step, step one, you want to organize your data. And specifically, organize least to greatest. It just makes working with the numbers a lot easier for what we're about to do. So I'm going to go ahead and look through my data for the lowest number. 7. 7's lower than 9. 4 is now the lowest. 2 is the lowest. Alright, so 2. So I'm going to write a big 2. And just to help yourself out, I would really go back and cross it out. Looks like the next lowest is a 4, followed by a 5, and I think I saw a 6 right after it. Now, sometimes numbers will repeat, and that's okay. We can just keep listing them. There's a 7, a 9, and a 10. What I personally like to do is just go back and count to make sure I have the same matching numbers, so at least I know I'm pretty close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. So, step 1 is just organize your data. Now, step 2, we're going to find the median. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and count from the outsides of the numbers in. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And what I mean by this is, we're going to start on the outside of our numbers and work our ways in. So I'm going to cross off a 2 and a 10. Then I'm going to cross off a 4 and a 9. I'm going to cross off a 5 and a 7. And you can see how we got down to one number. Again, you would be doing this at the same time. So if we got down to 2, there's kind of a unique situation that happens, but more on that in a minute. So we got down to 1. So our median is 6. So we found our median. Now what we have to do is step 3, we have to find the quartiles. Now this actually isn't too bad. Some people think it's a pain in the butt, but I think it's not that bad. So what I'm going to do is rewrite the numbers again. Go figure. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Okay. Now, you do not include the median in your lower and upper quartiles. So what I'm going to do is put a giant bar, basically just cross out my 6. And you can see that we've cut the numbers into 2 even sets. There's 3 numbers here, there's 3 numbers here. So that means you've set everything up correctly. So to find the lower quartile, you're going to look at the smaller numbers, the least numbers. And we're going to do what we did before. Cross out a 2, cross out a 5. So there's my lower quartile. For the upper quartile, you're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to cross out a 7, cross out a 10, and there's my upper quartile. Step 4 is probably the easiest one. You don't really have to do too much extra work. Step 4, we have to find the extremes. Now, some people might start off with this because it's the easiest things in the world to find. All you have to do is go back and look at your data and say, hey, you're the smallest number. Hey, you're the biggest number. So you would be the lowest extreme, and you would be the highest extreme, or the upper extreme. And we're done. So we can go ahead and list everything, and we could basically plot a box and whisker. But I wanted to go ahead and do that with data that's going to be a bit harder to work with. Case in point, this example. So here I have example 2 with way more numbers. I'm going to kind of go through it a little quicker, so just be ready. Step 1 said we have to organize. So we're going to put everything in least to greatest. It looks like 8 is the smallest number, and it appears twice. So what I'm going to do is do 8 and 8, cross out, cross out. Then I see 2 9s, so a 9 and a 9. There's a 10. Boom. Let's see, the next, there's no 11. Oh, there is an 11, okay. And it takes a careful eye to look for these numbers sometimes. Alright, and I see a 12. And don't feel bad if you screw up in this part. A lot of people make little mistakes here. And it's okay to just kind of write a number in next to it. It's not a big deal. After 12 looks like 2 14s. So 14 and a 14. Again, all I'm doing is just organizing them from least to greatest. Nothing too fancy here. There's a 16, a 17, an 18. Sorry if I have really sloppy handwriting. Happens. There's a 20, and there's a 21. Beautiful. Okay. Now, some people don't like rewriting all their data, and that's fine. I totally understand. But it might make this part a little bit easier. So that was step 1. Step 2 says we have to find the median. So again, I'm going to cross off the least number and the greatest number. And then I'm going to cross off that one and that one. 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 Now before we got down to 1 number. But here we're down to 2 numbers. We're down to 12 and 14. Now, when it's 1 number, it's easy. You circle it, you're done, like the first example. But what we have to do in this example is basically find what's the middle of 12 and 14. So to do that, we just take the average of the 2 numbers, 12 plus 14 divided by 2, which, for those of you playing math games at home, it's 26 divided by 2, which is 13. So in this case, our median actually was not in our set of numbers. That happens. That's okay. Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. But what it does tell us is now we can work with the lower quartile and the upper quartile. Again, we do not include the median in our lower quartiles and upper quartiles. What's nice is since 13 would basically be right here on my number set, this is going to be all the numbers I need for the lower quartile. And since 13 would also fall right over here, this would be all the numbers I need for the upper quartile. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and find the lower quartile first. I just want to label it as the median real quick. So I'm just going to write out the numbers that I would need for the lower quartile. So there's an 8, another 8, a 9, a 9, a 10, 11, and a 12. Again, look, I didn't write the median in there. Now I don't want to. All right, cross out an 8 and a 12. 8 and 11, 9 and 10. I took away 3 from both sides, which gives me a lower quartile of 9. Now, you could run into a situation before, like we were between 2 numbers. That can happen with the lower quartile. You just do the same thing. You add the 2 numbers together, divide by 2, and the world is happy. Not a big deal. Now I need to go ahead and find the upper quartile. So let's see, 14, 14, 16, 17, 18, 20, and 21. And again, I'm just going to do exactly like I did before. So I'm going to cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, and we're left with 17 is our upper quartile. Now, some of you may have, again, you could have probably done this next step earlier. That's okay, not a big deal. But you also need to find the lower extreme, which, if I go back up here, looks like an 8. And then I also needed to find the upper extreme, or the biggest number, the maximum, which looks like it was 21. Once you have these 5 numbers, you can go ahead and make your chart, your box and whisker here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to slide up so I can just leave all 5 numbers on there. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get out the bold marker here. Again, I do not claim to be an artist, so if you don't like my drawing ability, I apologize, but not really, because, again, never claimed to be good at art. It's not what I went to school for. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, beautiful! I can go by ones. Alright, so let's go ahead and make this 8, 10, 12, 14. It's important to make sure that you can fit all of your data, your box and whisker chart, on your graph. And as you can see, mine just goes to 21 and it has the minimum of 8. So, what we're going to do is list our 5 pieces of data. So, the lower extreme was 8. The lower quartile was 9. The median was 13. Again, it doesn't matter that wasn't in our data. No, doesn't make a difference at all. The upper quartile was 17, and the upper extreme was 21. So what I do is I make a line at 8, like that, and then line at 9, like that, and then a line at 13, a line at 17, and a line at 21. The median is the middle of the box, so I always connect the quartiles to the median. Ooh, we've got some big boxes here. And then the whisker part is just kind of like going from the box out to the upper and lower extremes. So it looks something like that. And that's how you make a box and whisker plot. Thanks for watching.